So, game 6 of these Eastern Conference semis between the Knicks and the Heat. Jalen Brunson, 15 points in the first quarter, started off so hot, and the Knicks overall had a great start to this game as even Julius Randle decided to show up at the start of this game, and hey, he hits the fadeaway here, and the Knicks have a 14-point lead, but it was erased as fast as possible as Bam Adebayo had himself an incredible first half himself, and he's been having quietly one hell of a playoff run himself as he's been one of the most impactful defenders, has a pretty solid offensive game here, another push shot from him, the Heat trading back and forth with these Knicks, and it was most of that for the third quarter also. Fourth quarter now with Jimmy Buckets having the ball in his hands, passing it to wide open Caleb Martin, who I feel like always hits one big shot in a game. No matter what big game it is, he'll always make one that's big. big, man. Here's Jimmy getting it to go and one. And it's an 8-point lead for the Heat there. But the Knicks rallied once again. Jalen Brunson playmaking for Josh Hart. And the Knicks make it a 2-point game with 54 seconds to go. Jimmy, you would think he would make this, but he misses. And the Knicks have a chance to take the lead or tie the game here with 30 seconds to go. Jalen Brunson with the ball. He's been having an incredible playoff run overall here. He has a wide open Josh Hart, forces it to Julius Randle and turns it over. And this is how it ends for the Knicks. This is how it ends. Jimmy Buckets on the free throw line. You knew he would make those, unfortunately. And it's such a shame it had to end like this for the Knicks, but hey, one hell of a season for the Nickelbackers, and they deserve their flowers. Jalen Brunson, one mistake does not define you. He was the only reason the Knicks were in this game. Quentin Grimes misses here the, well, I don't know what that was, what type of shot that was. Do you practice that shot? What type of shot is that? Okay. Nonetheless, a rough ending for the Knicks season. Although, obviously, you should be very encouraged with what you saw, except for Julius Randle, who once again couldn't find his shot throughout the whole playoff series. He has that He seriously hurt his ankle before the playoffs and then hurt it again in the playoffs. So, you have to give him some bail. Still, yeah, it's rough with Julius Randle. It's hard to trust him. It's just hard to trust him, to say the... what more can I say, man? He's just not trustworthy, especially in the playoffs. Just not the same player, even though he has the excuse, and a really valid one at that, with the ankle injury. And RJ Barrett had his worst game of the playoffs, probably even... Well, not the playoffs. Against the Cavs, he had a rough start, but he's been playing incredibly well and picked the worst spot to have his worst game of the series. Shout out to him. I'm a RJ believer still, and I always will be. And I think these playoffs gave the RJ movement more fuel than not. Let's just put it that way. And overall, what doesn't help the Knicks, the shooting is horrifying. They shot 28%, 29% from the three-point line. Overall, they couldn't shoot much. And what doesn't help is the isolation play, and the Tom Thibodeau offense doesn't really allow you to create a lot of good wide open looks no matter what the shooters are, because you play a lot of isolations and in a lot of tight spaces. So it's give and take with Tom Thibodeau, of course. And it will be interesting to see what the Knicks do and if they can bring in some shooting that will work with Tom Thibodeau. But the Knicks do have a bright future, to say the least, and they certainly are in the position to get a star or somebody of a star caliber to come or to trade for, because they do have a lot of good assets, and they also still have a lot of cap space. Will be real fun to see these Knicks next year. As for the Heat, back in the conference finals, Jimmy Butler 24-8-4. Not his best game, but he still came out clutch nonetheless in the end. Bam 23-9. I loved what I saw from Bam this series. Shout out to Bam. Kyle Lowry in the sixth-man role, continue to excel. Great stuff from him. And overall, I think the biggest difference between them and the Knicks was the coaching in the end. And I think Erik Spoelstra proving why he's one of the best coaches in the league and why he deserves all the credit that he's getting, because he simply pushed the right buttons, whether it was the rebounding and the double teaming on the rebounding with Mitchell Robinson, how he switched up defenses. Overall, his rotations were great. Playing Duncan Robinson, trusting him in these playoffs, he paid him dividends, and Kyle Lowry off the bench paid him a lot of dividends, created a lot of good looks, man. And shout out to the Heat. Can't wait to see them against the Celtics or the Sixers. It will be a fun series for sure, and I don't expect them to make it out of that, but we'll see.